Oh my goodness, yes. More like a springboard, if anything else.
Robbie is one of our listers, e-commerce listers.
I put stuff for sale online. Normally I average around 60 items a day. I've gone up to 70 and even 80 one time. Most interesting. Oh, okay, that's actually kind of hard. Like old vintage like copies of like my favorite movie, Land Before Time. Like old vintage VHS stuff. There's even like a book. It's still up there. It's a book with like a little like audio tape. And, like kids were supposed to read along as they listen to the tape.
I think Robbie's a good lister because he has a lot of knowledge, but he also knows when to ask the questions.
Well, I have a wide range of interests, so I think it really helps when you're working with items that you're interested in, that you understand. And it's interesting when you deal with like stuff that you've heard of, but you don't fully understand, then you learn a little bit more about them.
Yeah, Robbie came through through the OVR program. They helped him get him placed here, and he's just excelled ever since.
Actually, it was like a social program designed to help people who might not have been able to get a job like this on their own due to whether it be like social or like mental or physical disability. It was meant to help them get a job. It was meant to help them get on their feet, essentially. Did all the work, essentially, of looking around and searching for a proper job opportunity that would fit my interests. But probably the best decision I've ever made.
What would you say you were like before you came here?
Depressed. For lack of a better term, yeah. In one word, yeah, that. It was genuinely bad. I honestly didn't really know what kind of future I had, if any kind of future, honestly. I was gonna be honest, I was a little scared that it was gonna be a similar experience to like working the last job that I had. Imagine working a job where, it feels like it's never, like no matter what you do, it's never enough. And that's essentially what it felt like when at my last job before I came here. And so I just it felt really nice to have such nice, amazing people, like, to be around and actually like tell you this stuff that you're doing a really good job. It gives me that sense of, self-worth. It gave me a sense of confidence, essentially.
Whenever I got here, Robbie was already here. I started in September, and I was drawn to Robbie right away. And to me, he seemed so outgoing and so friendly and personable. And after getting to talk to Robbie, he told me, he said, this isn't how I was. He said, I was very recluse, very shy. He said, coming here every day has really changed my personality.
When I first met him, he talked a lot, but I think it was out of nervousness more than anything. So now he offers conversation now. He'll come up and start talking to people and things like that. And at first he was a little bit nervous, I thought, meeting new people, but now he goes and he's ready to shake hands with anybody. Yeah, so I think we brought him out of a shell.
He says it does a world of good for him to be here, and now his co-workers love him. We all love him. I couldn't say enough good about Robbie and what Goodwill's done for him.
Shocked me, honestly, when I realized that I was working for such nice people.
Robbie was fortunate enough, and this is something that he's been wanting to do, and he's talked about it for as long as I've known him, and he's going to move on and go to school.
But I always kind of felt like the space was just meant to be like a stepping stone, meant to get me back on my feet, because I do have larger aspirations that, require knowledge of a specific field that you're not going to find, working at Goodwill.
But do you feel like it's been a helpful stepping stone?
Oh my goodness, yes. More like a springboard, if anything else. I plan to study at a community college up in New Hampshire, where my mother lives. I study biology up there. My biggest goal is primarily to work with animals, like the exotic kind of stuff you find in like an animal plant documentary, that sort of. Primarily to work with animals, like the exotic kind of stuff you find in like an animal plant documentary, that sort of stuff. A zookeeper is like probably at the top of that list. It doesn't have to be as strictly a zookeeper. I guess myself being like pretty much anything you could find at a zoo, I guess.
What is your favorite animal?
The elephant.
Yeah?
It's a highly intelligent creature. Although it doesn't look it, it's very emotionally intelligent. The elephants like grieve. The fact that they remember each other very, very well. They have like incredibly close-knit, bonded family structures. It's very fascinating.
He's extremely intelligent. He offers help without even asking. He will climb the ladder big time, I feel, when he goes to university. I'm so excited for him. He wants to be a zoologist at some point. So we've encouraged him to try to get there.
Do you feel like this job has kind of helped you get ready to go to school?
Yes, I do. Primarily in the social aspect, obviously with the self-confidence part as well. But I think it helps a lot for someone like me who is neurodivergent and doesn't really, obviously we don't really do that well with the whole talking with people, thing. College is obviously a very social setting, and more importantly, a social setting with people around my age group who I will finally be able to, talk and make friends with.
Let's talk about driver's ed. So why did you want to get your driver's license?
Because in rural areas, it's kind of necessary to be a part of a functioning member of society. Got the driver's ed before I even thought about coming here. Like, it kind of was like the start of like my general sense of self-confidence, because if I can, control this several ton machine of, like the kind of thing, like if something goes wrong, it can and will result in something bad happening. Like, so like I think if it makes you feel like if you can do that, I mean, at that point, I mean, the world's your oyster, I guess.
Well, starting out as everybody, they struggle with accelerating and braking and things like that, but once they get used to it and they get going, and a lot of people are real slow to start out with. He followed the instructions and was able to overcome and pass his test. So that's the main thing. He's pretty good, pretty laid back, not afraid if he needed to ask me questions, which I tell that of all the clients, if you have a question, just ask. Every driver seems to grow some confidence over time. Some people will be able to get things done and, pretty rapidly. Others, it just takes them a little bit, But overall, it's just a matter of working with the people. Pretty stern whenever I'm out there, I guess I should say I'm kind of strict.
Even when I'm driving, I still hear his voice in my ear. I mean this in the nicest way possible. Sitting next to him and having him teach me drive was like having a drill sergeant next to you. and it's very effective. Because if you can still hear his voice ringing in your ear whenever you realize you're doing something wrong, that means that he did very, very well. I'll be very, very sad to leave because this whole thing has been just one giant adventure. But the thing is with me is that I'm the kind of person who likes to constantly be doing stuff, and I think in order to build better character, I think it's important sometimes to, change stuff up and go on another very long-ranging adventure. So I figure 2 years in a completely different state will probably fit that very well. But yeah, I will absolutely miss working here. Actually, where I'm working, there is another Goodwill that is not a Shop Goodwill, but I plan on trying to possibly apply for a job up there, because I know if it's anything like here, it'll, still have a little bit of that, I guess, magic, I guess you could say.